Masking up. The CDC announced new mask guidelines today, even for vaccinated Americans, plus new guidelines for our kids as they go back to school. What this means for you.
So you're going to be fine without me. Go out there, you kick some butt just like you've done in training.
Tapping out. Simone Biles backs out of the team finals. What's next for her in Tokyo? Plus,
whatever level of competition you're at, stress and pressure is there.
A local gymnastics coach reacts to the mental pressure athletes go through.
And Northeast Ohio represents which Ohio athletes are coming home with some new hardware.
Ditching uniforms. CMSD will soon let students express themselves through fashion. We'll tell you the reason behind the decision.
Back in time. Bernie Kosar posed for countless photos in the 90s, including one with our Mike Polk Jr. We got the whole group together to recreate the scene. Stay with us. What's New starts right now.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Hello again, Northeast Ohio. Thank you so much for choosing What's New on this gorgeous summer Tuesday. I mean, I'd pay for a day like this.
It was free,
but I would have paid for it.
It's pretty hot.
It's a little hot, but I like it a little hot.
Yeah.
But just the sunshine and the beautiful summer day. I hope you're enjoying it. Alongside Betsy Kling, I'm Jay Crawford. Betsy, a very good afternoon to you.
And to you, too. Hopefully everybody is staying safe and cool. Matt will be along in just a little bit. He does have some cooler temperatures in the forecast, so stay tuned for that. But first at 5, new developments from the CDC on masking in the United States. Reversing course, the CDC is now recommending that even vaccinated people wear masks indoors in some situations. And they now say all kids should mask up at school. We're going to have details on that in just a moment.
Yeah, but first, a new study from CASE is showing startling evidence about teens and the COVID vaccine. Our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, joins us live now. And with that, Monica, we say good afternoon to you. I will tell you, whenever I see startling evidence, that really gets my attention. What's going on here?
Yeah, it should, actually. And it should also bring comfort to parents still on the fence about whether or not to get their kids vaccinated. By now, you've heard the CDC and FDA are investigating a small number of myocarditis cases in younger people who received the COVID vaccine. Now, myocarditis is heart inflammation and typically goes away, but it can cause problems if untreated. Local researchers from Case Western Reserve University and MetroHealth poured over thousands of electronic medical records from 48 facilities. They focused on teenagers between 12 and 17 who developed myocarditis between April of 2020 and until the end of March of this year. They found boys who got the COVID-19 virus were 6 times more likely to get myocarditis from the infection compared to the vaccine. But in girls, the virus was more than 20 times more likely to cause heart inflammation compared to the vaccine. One of the researchers had a personal reason for checking this data, his own daughter.
The risk of the vaccine is much, 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 much less than the risk of the virus. So therefore, on her birthday, I made sure that I drove my 12-year-old around to get her first COVID-19 vaccine.
So now the research has been submitted, but it has not yet been peer reviewed. They thought the information, though, was just too important to wait to release it. So that's why they released it today, this morning.
Well, we know that virus is pretty nasty, which brings around the topic of masks. Yesterday, the governor said no plans for a mask mandate in Ohio, but now the CDC has changed course and is saying yes for the masks. Why the flip?
Well, just like the Ohio Department of Health yesterday, the CDC is recommending that all students in K through 12 wear masks when they return to school this fall, regardless of their vaccination status. Now, remember, kids under 12 still can't get vaccinated, so that puts them at higher risk. The CDC also recommending masks for everyone in areas of the country with high transmission. Here in Northeast Ohio, we're in the moderate end of transmission compared to Southern Ohio and the southern states. Why the flip? Well, we're learning more every day about this Delta variant. And NBC is reporting the change in guidance comes as new data suggests fully vaccinated people are not just contracting COVID, but potentially infecting others. It is no surprise, really, because we now know it doesn't take much of the Delta virus to infect other people. That's why it's so contagious. The vaccines are effective at keeping people from getting severe disease. But again, no vaccine is 100% perfect, or does it prevent you from exposure? So hold on to your masks. Do not be surprised if you see some businesses once again requiring them, even though there's not a state mandate to do so.
All right. Well, we've learned from the very beginning, be flexible because the information changes and it changes rapidly. And here we are again. Monica Robbins reporting tonight on the very latest from the CDC. Monica, thanks. Well, next up, shock from Tokyo today as American gymnast Simone Biles withdraws midway through the team gymnastic competition, citing mental issues. The American women were forced to replace Biles for the final couple of events, losing the gold to Russia and settling for the silver medal instead.
So let's bring in 3 News sports director Jimmy Donovan with the latest on this. Biles said that she was under enormous stress, but still this came as a huge surprise.
And, you know, she had been saying that in the lead up to the event. From the moment, really, she arrived in Tokyo, she was saying, I feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. Certainly before she went for that vault today in the first rotation of the women's final, there was concern on her face because she had had a bad warm-up. So here's what happened. First rotation, she went last in the pecking order for the United States so as to give them an early lead over the Russians and keep them out in front. But everything went wrong. It was supposed to be 2.5 twists. She cut it off at 1.5 twists, but then had a terrible landing. At that point, she walked off of the competition level over to her coaches and left the scene. She went underneath into an area of a locker room. At that point, it was thought that she had a physical injury, but she came back out and then talked to her young teammates and said, I'm no good right now. You're going to do better without me. Her mind was not there. And she later said that if you're not mentally prepared to do what I do, then injury follows that. So she left. The young Americans hung in there. They finished with a silver medal, which is a great story that gets buried, of course, in the Biles part of this story. And now Simone Biles will take a mental rest day tomorrow and decide if she's going to go in the individual finals coming up on Thursday. That will be interesting to see. There was a fascinating 60-minute interview in the lead up to the games where she said she had gone through a terrible year. A year ago when the games were postponed, she went into deep depression, didn't get out of bed most days, didn't want to go to the gym because she was so ready. And I know, Jay, your son was the same way. They were so ready to go to Tokyo a year ago. She finally got out of bed. She went back into the gym, but it was never easy for her to get back to where she was. And she also realized she was a year older. She's 24 years old now. And the other thing that really kind of shed some light on this, she took a look at the great swimmer Michael Phelps. And she said, you know, back in Rio, everything in the games was on Michael Phelps. Can I handle that when I get to Tokyo? So this was really bearing down on her. And I go back to St. Louis at the trials. She was not happy with the way she performed at the trials. We knew she was going to make the team. This seemed to be building.
Yeah. Speaking of Michael Phelps, he's done a fabulous documentary on pressure that Olympic athletes put themselves on, really. I mean, so much of it is self-induced. But in the case of someone like Simone, who she was the face of these games. She has 4 huge national sponsors, a lot of dollars at stake.
Absolutely.
The pressure that she felt is probably unlike anything that any of these other athletes can relate to. Most of them go to the games hoping to win a gold medal. She goes knowing that anything but gold is a disappointment.
You know, if you draw a parallel, a 17-year-old swimmer from Alaska came out of nowhere last night for the United States.
With no pressure.
With no pressure at all, and from way behind, and won the gold medal, and the tiny town up in Alaska was having a ball.
That was a great moment.
So great.
Because nobody swims up there, right? It's too
They
cold.
have
Anyway.
one Olympic-sized pool.
That being said, you're right. She went to Tokyo. They're saying, hey, you're going to win 5 gold medals.
That's a lot.
You're going to be the face of the games. It was a lot, and you could sense it even in her face, even before she took the runway for that first vault.
She didn't look right.
She did not look right.
We'll find out later this week if she'll compete in the individual disciplines. sure many are hoping that we get to see her again.
Absolutely.
More of an inspiration now for a lot of kids than being a 5-time gold medal winner.
I think you're right. In today's sports world, you're right.
Gives them a little confidence.
We'll see you at 7-6, of course, but also at 7:30 with Olympic Zone.
All right.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Well, whether it's on the world stage or a local school stage, competing takes grit, determination, and skill. And I am not just talking about physical abilities here. Mental health is equally as important in sports. And lately, we have seen several athletes speaking out about the mental stress of competition and living up to the expectations that others typically place on them. Brandon Simmons spoke to experts who say mental setbacks can be just as bad as physical ones, whether you're an amateur or an Olympian.
At Gymnastics World in Broadview Heights, these amateur athletes from around Greater Cleveland are putting in the work, and it's paying off. They have the trophies to prove it. But winning isn't the end-all be-all.
We try not to focus on scores or winning, just have fun out there.
Co-owner and director Joan Ganem says they're not just teaching the sport.
Positive attitude.
They're teaching the kids, preparing them mentally.
We try to prepare them with goal setting, how to deal with fears, how to deal with the pressure of competition.
Important concepts to know at all levels of competition, and highlighted by Simone Biles' decision to step back on the world's biggest stage, putting her mental health first. Experts say it's a medal-worthy decision.
I see that as an incredibly positive sign that we're finally in a place where athletes can start to acknowledge that, and the public can start to hear it as a real and important aspect of someone's health.
University Hospital psychiatrist Dr. Patrick Runnell says 1 out of 4 adults will have a diagnosable mental health issue at some point in their lives. Athletes, under tremendous pressure to perform, are no different.
This is part of the human condition. It's common, and we so rarely see people call attention to it.
Which is why Biles' decision may actually add to her resume as greatest of all time. At age 24, she's teaching the younger generation it's okay to step aside when your head's not in it.
Kids nowadays have so much pressure on winning. There's just so much pressure, you got to be number one. Why?
Now, Dr. Runnels also said no one would ever question a physical injury, and mental distress should be treated in the same way. Now, Simone Biles earlier today said if you don't put your mental health first, you're not going to enjoy your sport, and that's something I think kids and adults can all appreciate, Betsy.
When you don't enjoy it anymore, it's probably not even worth doing. All right, Brandon, thanks so much.
Well, hard to believe it's already nearing back to school time, but parents are already back to school shopping. The big day for most, about 3 weeks away. But this year, kids can look forward to wearing some of the latest fashions as they go back to the classroom instead of the uniforms that many have gotten used to. Here's January Keaton.
Kindergarten through 8th grade students have to follow the dress code, but we're not going to follow the uniform policy this year.
The K-8 navy or light blue polo-style shirt tucked into navy, tan, black, or khaki pants or skirts look is no more in both Cleveland and Akron public schools. Both districts doing away with mandatory school uniforms.
Kids, when they get home, they change from their uniforms and put on clothes that they're going to wear the rest of the day and play in and do stuff in. And that just creates that financial burden for families that we wanted to alleviate.
According to Akron Public Schools' website, students can now wear pretty much anything the upcoming school year, except things typically prohibited. Midriff, back, chest, and underwear can't be shown. You can't sag, drag, or wear baggy pants or show too much thigh.
One of the areas parents and students have asked the district to revisit is our CMSD dress code.
Cleveland Metro School District CEO Eric Gordon announcing the same change as well in a recent presentation. He implemented a task force to get feedback from his district's parents, students, and educators.
These new dress expectations were designed not only to ensure students dress in a manner that is appropriate, comfortable, and conducive to an active academic school day, but also to support all students in developing a body-positive self-image.
If you want more details on the school uniform policy for Cleveland or Akron schools, go to our website, WKYC.com. In Cleveland, January Keaton, 3 News.
Still ahead for us on What's New. New details on Britney Spears and her conservatorship case. Kara Cotton joins us with the very latest now that a new lawyer has been hired.
And Matt's here with a peek at your forecast. Matt, the heat was on high today.
Oh, you got that right. Heat was about the same, but we cranked up the humidity, so feeling much warmer. That humidity will lead to showers and storms over the next couple days. We'll take you through it, but if you're heading outside to dine, A-OK tonight. Just bring a towel. We'll be back.
What's New is sponsored by Cleveland Clinic, celebrating 100 years of care.
Oh, it's summertime in the CLE. Certainly feels like summertime out there.
It is. And on that note, Matt, your weather word today is deodorant. And I throw that out there as a public service.
Good luck.
A friendly reminder. Make sure you double up on days like this.
I'm going to go see who you're sitting next to because that's on your mind. Someone around there is extra stinky today, I'm sure.
I promise I'd put it on.
It's not Betsy.
I don't think it's Betsy. Jay comes up with this weather word around 4:30 or so. So
promise it's not Betsy.
I'm going to do some digging over there. All right. A little bit warmer today. Temperatures are about the same as yesterday. We're still mid and upper 80s, but if you joined us yesterday, we're saying that humidity, we're going to crank it up today, and that's certainly what we've done, and what a difference it feels to your skin right outside. Upper 80s for most of us. The dew points, we're in the 60s down towards the south. Look near our lakeshore, though. We've got dew points near 70. That's the ultra muggy stuff. So if you're planning a trip out for maybe some fishing or a run along the lake, it is a little bit more humid. We've got a nice little marine layer in there. So your feels like temperatures up near 90 once again this afternoon. Could be worse if you don't like the heat. It has just been scorching once again in the plains. Billings over towards Pierre. Bismarck sitting in triple digits once again. That stretches down towards Dallas. Again, you can see where this demarcation line is between the cooler air in New England, who's setting up for a beautiful weekend, and then you get the hot stuff out in the plains. That demarcation line is often where we have storms, and that is certainly the case. Big old dome of heat out in the plains. encompassing most of the country, really. This is really quite a dome of heat, but you can see where that line is. That's where the jet stream's been. This is the last 2 days worth of radar data, and you could see the showers and thunderstorms that fire up along that. We had some areas of the Dakotas the other day, some in Canada. They just blow up. These big MCSs, as we call them, mesoscale convective systems, got a life of their own, and we're going to see more of those as this transitions a little bit closer to us over the next couple days. Nothing doing right now. Radars are quiet. When you have a boundary sitting overhead, you really have to keep a watchful eye on that. We'll likely see some activity fire up in the Great Lakes. Locally, we are seeing a couple downpours pop up. There's a little bit of boundary. See those cumulus clouds there? Lorain County may have some rain here shortly. Also seeing a downpour over in Trumbull County. Nothing widespread across northeast Ohio this evening. That's still expected to arrive late tomorrow on into Thursday with one of those big convective systems. So let's talk about it. National Design Mart hour by hour forecast. A few hit or miss downpours. Otherwise, we're dry this evening. It will be muggy tonight. We're back into the 70s. Tomorrow, your deodorant won't need to be quite as thick if you're really laying it on there, because it's not going to be quite as hot. We'll be in the low 80s generally, mid 80s down towards the south. Most of the day tomorrow should be dry, but by afternoon we'll have to watch maybe a couple pops. All indication is that we're going to have some kind of cluster of storms sometime tomorrow night into Thursday morning. Timing and where that goes is really going to change over the next 24 hours. But look what happens this weekend. Lower humidity. We get a gush of nice air out of Canada. Here's what it looks like on the forecast. Union Hill Mortgage 7-day. Look at the 70s setting up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Beautiful conditions. Low humidity to boot. Maybe a shower around on Sunday. We'll be back with more after the break.
We're going to be talking about the Bachelorette and Michael Alio going home.
Well, if you watch The Bachelorette and have been following our local guy, Michael A., then you may have shed a tear last night.
Kira Cotton has that story and, of course, our other entertainment news of the day in our pop break.
That's right, guys. All good things must come to an end. Our local Bachelorette contestant, Michael Alio, said goodbye to Katie Thurston during last night's episode. The 37-year-old made the decision to exit the show after a heartbreaking phone call with his 4-year-old son, James, who wondered if his dad was gone because he didn't want to see him. While James and Michael have been reunited, the word is still out on whether or not he's the next Bachelor. Michael says he's not completely sold on the idea. He says he needs to mend his broken heart and think about getting engaged and introducing his son to someone in such a short time. Who knows? Maybe he'll find love again right here in Northeast Ohio. And as promised, I will keep you updated on Britney Spears' conservatorship case. Here's the latest. The 39-year-old singer's new lawyer, who was appointed a little over a week ago, has officially filed to have Britney's father, Jamie, removed as her conservator. The petition asks that Jamie be removed and replaced by accountant Jason Rubin. According to reports, Rubin, whose firm has experience with complex conservatorship cases, would be tasked with managing Spears' $58 million estate. The motion to remove and replace Jamie is scheduled to be reviewed at a hearing December 13th. And the newest coach to join The Voice is making herself right at home. Ariana Grande recently shared a behind-the-scenes look at the filming for her first promo for the singing competition. In the promo, she's joined by Kelly, John, and Blake as they surround a campfire and take part in an initiation that involves Grande singing them a song. She modestly declines before quickly stepping into the spotlight, and let's just say she doesn't disappoint.
There's nowhere to hide since you push my love aside.
The Voice will air Mondays and Tuesdays starting this fall. And Jay and Betsy, I don't know about you guys, but I am so excited for The Voice to come back. And I love the addition of Ariana to the cast.
I think that is probably the fanciest campfire song ever. No more kumbaya, no more,
no hand holding.
It's like a Grease.
99 bottles of
Grease
beer on the wall.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She was there to shine.
Wow.
She did, too.
Definitely.
Right?
Glittery dress and all.
Yeah.
Fancy. All right.
We'll tune in.
Thanks, Kira.
Sure thing.
Looking forward to it. Well, still ahead for us, the CDC is backpedaling on its masking guidelines. We're going to tell you what you need to know.
Plus, we continue keeping our eyes on the Ohio athletes in Tokyo. Will Hewitt joins us with who's winning big already as the games continue. Go, Tiger.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
for sticking with us. We begin at 5:30 with 3 things you need to know. And big news from the CDC this afternoon as they announced yet another reversal in its masking recommendations. The organization is now recommending that everyone should wear a mask when they are inside in areas where COVID is surging. According to this CDC map, no Northeast Ohio counties currently qualify as high transmission. The CDC also announced all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to school wear masks regardless of their vaccination status.
Cleveland Councilman Ken Johnson's federal corruption trial continued in Akron today. Prosecutors wrapped up their case. The longtime councilman is facing 15 theft-related charges. Witnesses for the prosecution testified that Johnson cheated taxpayers through 3 separate schemes, including submitting false paperwork to obtain $127,000 in reimbursements from City Council. Witnesses also said Johnson lied on his tax returns and used his children's employment at a neighborhood nonprofit to funnel paychecks into his own bank account. One of Johnson's adopted sons testified today that he allowed his dad to cash his checks sometimes in exchange for a cash advance. This testimony contradicted his earlier statements to a grand jury. The case is expected to wrap up by the end of the week.
And Betsy, I'm pretty sure this is considered good news for most school-age kids in Cleveland and Akron. Cleveland Metropolitan Schools is ditching school uniforms. According to CMSD's CEO Eric Gordon, the district wants to create a new and inclusive dress code that promotes body positivity. Some schools can choose to keep a more formal dress code if they want. Akron Public Schools also posted on its website that it's suspending uniforms for K through 8 for the upcoming school year. High schoolers already were exempt from wearing them.
That's a good talker, too, because, a lot of families really relied on the school uniforms, equal for everybody, same thing. Right. Now it changes the game a little bit in the halls, and we all know sometimes those school halls can be a little rough at times. Well, with all of that, everybody, welcome back to What's New. I'm Betsy Kling alongside Jay Crawford.
Did you wear uniforms at school?
No.
No.
I had my own uniform, jeans and a T-shirt. It was very simple.
That was mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, jeans, T-shirt. Really, no matter the weather, even in the wintertime.
Tennis shoes.
Yeah, that was it for me.
Usually a basketball warm-up or something.
Yep.
Just
pull over if it's real cold.
Very easygoing. If I ever wore a dress, it was like,
what's going on? Yeah, Betsy has a job interview.
Yeah, something is happening here. All right, well, we're going to switch gears now to today's Top Talker. It is all about the Olympics. Several Northeast Ohio athletes are making us proud.
Boy, they certainly are. Will Uick joins us now, as he does every day throughout these Olympic Games. Kind of our Olympics happy hour, if you will. Will is here to give us a daily update on our Buckeye Olympians. And Will, we're going to start right out of the bat with some great news today. I think this was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely, because you have Tiger Johnson facing someone that got a first-round bye. So you go, I don't watch this much boxing, so I'm not sure, but it looks like the cards are stacked against him. But let's start right there in the boxing ring. And you know what? So far, couldn't be going any better for Ohioans. Cleveland's Tiger Johnson, we just mentioned, moving on to the quarterfinals after an early morning win by a 4-1 decision. After the bout, Tiger tweeted 2 down, 3 to go. On to the quarterfinals, and in that quarterfinals match, he'll face Ronil Iglesias of Cuba. Now, the two have fought before, with Iglesias getting the win by decision. However, that was several years ago. So, anything can happen, and it will happen Friday morning, 5:36 a.m. local time. And Toledo's O'Shea Jones is also advancing to the quarterfinals. She came off her first-round bye throwing haymakers and won the bout this morning by a 3-2 split decision. Immediately after the announcement, a very excited O'Shea broke out in a dance in the middle of the ring, and she's going to keep on dancing until Friday morning at 5:03 local time, where she'll face Maria Altagracia Moranta Hernandez from the Dominican Republic.
Nailed it.
Thank you. I worked on that one. And from the ring to the rugby field, where Massillon's Carlin Isles and Team USA men's sevens advance to the quarterfinals to face Great Britain. It all looks good out of the gate, but they don't call them Great Britain for nothing. Team USA up 21-0, but UK storms back 26-21, so the U.S. will not medal. They do have one more match. It's against Canada, but that is only for final placing. And you can add another medal to the Buckeye State if you're playing along at home. Ohio-owned Salvino the Stallion will be coming home with hardware after the U.S. equestrian won the silver in team dressage. And our 1,300-pound athlete may not be done either. He and rider Adrian Lyle will compete in individual dressage early tomorrow morning. When I mean early, 4 a.m. hour for that one. And as far as what's ahead, guys, tonight, Trenton, Ohio's Zach Apple, we saw him win the gold in the relay. He's going to be looking for more hardware. It's the semifinals for the 100 meters. So he's going right here on WKYC about 7:40, 8 o'clock, 8:15, somewhere in that time frame.
Prime
when the swimming picks
time.
back up.
Watch and win.
Yeah?
Yeah, boy, the rugby thing. When you're up 21-0,
You think you got it.
You think you're sailing to victory.
Yeah, they hit cruise control, I think.
Well, the tide completely turned in that match, and they were all done. All right. Well, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, Simone Biles dropping out of the finals is obviously the biggest talker of the day. She said something felt off, so rather than push through the doubts, she stepped back and let other girls shine. Our digital anchor Stephanie Haney has the reaction from people around the country. Steph?
Betsy, yes, there's been a major outpouring of love and support for Simone Biles. After what was definitely a very tough choice to remove herself from the women's team gymnastic finals in Tokyo. Here's a classic example. Minnesota Timberwolves star Karl Anthony Towns tweeting nothing but love and positivity and making sure to keep calling her the GOAT, the greatest of all time. We saw a lot of that on social media. And so many more are celebrating Biles for taking care of herself and making sure to prioritize her individual needs. Like comedian Chelsea Handler, who tweeted that Biles has real superhuman strength for drawing that boundary for herself and her health on the world stage, mind you, saying she's setting an example for all of us. And the Today Show's Hoda copy is one of the many raving about how Biles reacted after the withdrawing, posting that Simone Biles had already won at that point, calling her a class act for coming back out and cheering on her teammates while they went on to secure that silver medal. And the cheering didn't stop there. Just a few hours ago, Biles kept that going, posting on Instagram how proud she is of her teammates, writing that they stepped up when she couldn't, and is thanking them for having her back. And very overwhelmingly positive for her. I'm sure the last thing on her mind is scrolling social media, but you just hope that she's seeing this message of positivity over there as she prepares to maybe get back out there at the end of the week.
Right. Well, unless you have been the GOAT and on cereal boxes and, you are expected to win 5 gold medals, you really don't have much to say because you have no idea what's going on in her head.
Absolutely.
It's tough. Now the world waits to see whether or not she'll come back and compete in the individual events. The women's all-around is Thursday, and then beginning this weekend onto the individuals, which she's expected to win a handful of medals there too. So we'll see if she comes back. We hope she does. Absolutely. If not, do what's best for you.
Yep.
Steph, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, then and now. Boy, this story is one you're going to want to watch. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. What's it worth when you recreate it 3 decades later? Well, Bernie co-star Mike Polk Sr. and Mike Polk Jr. and me, kind of, in a retro redo that you just have to see.
And if you like Mike Polk Jr., wait till you meet Mike Polk Sr.
Oh, you like him even more.
Everybody actually likes him more than his son.
And that's saying something.
I actually went there. But first, we have a love story that's coming out of an email. We're going to explain that coming up in today's Show Us Something Good.
The Summer Games Medal Count is sponsored by Dollar Bank. Let's get you there.
Well, it's a toasty summer afternoon. This is kind of what we were thinking about January and February. We're like, hey, remember what it feels like when the sun is out and it's warm and we're complaining about how hot and humid it is?
Don't take it for granted, right? Betsy, I just got out our WKYC 3 News weather team report card. We were calling for 88.66 today. 88.65 is what we ended up with. So
pretty good.
Yeah, B minus. I
would put it in an A, not an A+.
That's really good. That's good. And if people don't know, I don't think they really care, but we do a blend every day. So we all get our numbers together and we mash them up and take the averages. So I think that's pretty darn accurate if you ask me. 88 degrees, not just for the Cleveland area, Akron, Mansfield, New Philly, all checking in at 88, 86 down in up in Ashtabula this afternoon. You're even warmer than yesterday, but we were only a degree higher than yesterday. But why did it feel so much warmer? Well, the humidity has been laying on thick. 90 right now at our sensor in Akron. You can see 80s elsewhere. Humidity still hodgepodge, but it has ramped up a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit thicker of a night outside. You put those two numbers together, we're talking upper 80s to near 90 degrees. That will slowly ease off as the evening progresses. The real heat out in the plains, once again, triple-digit heat from Texas all the way up to the Canadian border. For us, we are not going to get in on that. We're going to get several nice waves of cooler air. New England really a place to be over the next 7 to 10 days. They're going to get some fall-like air. For us, though, summer-like night, partly cloudy skies. We do have some downpours that we've been tracking. There is that weak boundary that produced all the storms up in areas of Wisconsin and northern Michigan yesterday. That has settled. There's not much left with it, but we are seeing some lift in the atmosphere, and that's producing some pretty heavier downpours now near Grafton. This will likely head into northern Medina County. Keep your eye on this over the next couple hours. We may see it expand further west and then watching some rain out towards Trumbull County as well. It'll be few and far between this evening. Big ridge in place. Here are the train tracks where those storms like to ride, and that's what we're going to be watching next couple days. So National Zymart, look ahead. I want to show you one of the model's takes on our next real chance of thunderstorms, which is late Wednesday, Thursday. Likely a big cluster of storms forming somewhere up in the north woods of Wisconsin up towards Minnesota. We'll be watching this tomorrow afternoon and evening as it fades south. Keep in mind the timing of the computer models. They just don't get this kind of pattern whatsoever. So this may develop earlier, may head further east, may head further west. But bottom line, we're going to have a pretty decent cluster of thunderstorms sometimes Wednesday into Thursday. Here it goes. Latest model run, though, takes it off to the west, brings rain and storms still into our area tomorrow night, Thursday morning, and then some leftover before we turn off the humidity for the weekend. Look at this. The muggy meter going way down for the weekend. Little bump on Sunday out ahead of our next system, but it is looking really comfortable around here once we get beyond Thursday. Union Home Mortgage 7-day, 80s the next 2 days with those shower and thunderstorm chances, primarily Wednesday night, Thursday, and then Friday we clear things out. Just a slight chance of rain on Sunday. Otherwise 70s, comfortable. It's going to be pretty darn nice around here, Jay.
Yeah, I'm loving that weekend, Matt. Thank you very much. Well, today's show is Something Good is a love story, and I love this story. This couple met when Samantha Hassan sent out an email inviting all of her coworkers to a weekend hike. Well, according to the Good New Movement, Samantha sent an email to 15 of her coworkers, and just one showed up. And there he is, a guy from the web development team that she barely knew. Now, the happy couple is celebrating 6 years of being married. How about that?
I think the big question is, did he tell everybody else not to show up so he could have the one-on-one?
That's I like your conspiracy theory.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
He's a keeper.
All right, next up on What's New, a blast from the past. Mike Polk Jr., his dad, Bernie Kosar, and me. We all come together for a side-by-side photo shoot. What brought on the idea? Find out coming up.
Unbelievable. Then we are live from Tokyo, from the biggest upsets like Simone Biles dropping out to the biggest wins. We have it all covered when we come back. You know, there's just something about coming across an old photograph and you start to think back to that time. You know, it all comes back to you. Well, recently our Mike Polk Jr. did a little reminiscing on our 3 News What's New Facebook page when he shared an old photo of himself and his dad with Browns legend Bernie Kosar.
And you mean an old photo.
I mean, old photo.
You may remember Mike posted that photo on our What's New Facebook page.
Like I just said, sorry.
It's a beauty. It sparked a fun idea that I've done myself a couple of times with old photos with my kids. It turned into an adventure that only Mike Polk Jr. could orchestrate.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here for this incredibly important project. I'm just going to run through the bullet points with you very quickly so we know what we're doing here today.
We're coachable, by the way.
Well, I think Bill Belichick would disagree.
Oh, the first Belichick shot fired.
Sick burn. What does it take to bring 3 local titans like Bernie Kosar, Jay Crawford, and Mike Polk Sr. together like this? It took a picture. This picture. This is the Mike Polk Sr., Mike Polk Jr., Bernie Kosar photo reenactment project based on this photo from, I believe, 1991. Dad, do you remember what this event was?
One of Bernie's Tanglewood dinners after a football game.
After every game, we'd have an event out there, and we'd do Q&A with our fans and talk about what happened in the previous Sunday's game. The Polk family was a mainstay.
Yes. Let me tell you how this happened. I posted this. Jay texts me that we bring you in for one of these photo reenactments, which are so popular right now.
So you take any picture from the past and then you get the same folks back together and try to get them in as close proximity to the original photo as you can, and then you frame them side by side. I've done them with my kids when they were 6 and 8, and then when they were 16 and 18.
So this was your idea, and you offered to waste Bernie's time with this. Once our mission had been established, the briefing shifted to logistics. Going to the picture itself. So what are our big concerns? First of all, obviously this Bernie shirt, okay? From 1991. This sweater, a big problem, because they don't make this Bugle Boy sweater anymore, it turns out. I hit a couple different thrift stores, and I did the best that I could. Fortunately, my dad let me know that he still has this tie.
That's the last time I wore a tie.
Jay, this is your role. I appreciate the fact that you have agreed to play the role of the guy who's halfway into the shot.
It's going to be some of my best work ever.
Just remember, there are no small parts, only small actors. So now we're just going to get started.
Let's do it.
The moment was finally upon us. It was time to make our vision come to life. Okay, this way. A little more. A little more.
It's like moving a truck, isn't it?
How we do? All right, Bernie, you ready? Okay, so you're going to be here next to this guy.
Yeah.
Perfect. Remember, just like it was in 1991. Come into the shot here. Everyone do their same kind of look that they were doing. Bernie, you're just kind of like checked out. Like, how much longer is this? Dad, you were legitimately happy to be there and probably had a 6-beer buzz. Okay, yeah. 3, 2, 1. I think we're nailing it. It was then, as we were wrapping a successful photo shoot, that tragedy struck.
Could you edit it? Oh! Please tell me you got that.
Time. I think that's a wrap. They say you can't live in the past, and that's true. But that doesn't mean you can't celebrate it and commemorate it by making it a part of the present. This is Mike Polk hanging with the posse for 3 News.
Fantastic.
Oh my God. I got to tell you, when I recommended to Mike that he do that, I had no idea how much fun it would be. Thank you for inviting me along to play that huge role of shoulder man.
It's a very important role.
Well, I figured that the picture hinged on me pulling that off.
Authenticity is everything. And can I just say, I'm really glad Mike did not spear a Cleveland legend, Bernie Kosar, with a falling pipe or whatever he got it on. That was close. Can you imagine how that story would have turned out?
Yeah, not good.
That's great. We'd have been in all the different media outlets.
Yeah.
Bernie Kosar
injured during photo shoot.
Yeah, it would be terrible.
Bernie was such a great sport, though. He had just as much fun as I did.
Of course he did.
For sure. We laughed all the way through
fun.
it.
Love sharing.
Great job, Mike.
And you got to meet Mike Polk Sr. It was amazing. All right, after the break, we have a live report from Tokyo as the games continue, full of major developments for Team USA, from gymnastics to softball and swimming, where the states stand now.
Al, how are you? Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Russ Mitchell.
I'm going to get in trouble.
No, I'm not really.
But maybe it was someone else I was thinking.
That's really fast to get up. NBC 12 is super easy.
Has it on their website.
I got you.
Like parts of it.
Yeah.
Mic check. Laura Queso's mic. I'm certainly not.
Hey, can you guys turn the prompter back on? All right, thank you.
I can.
Oh, what a day in Tokyo. Early this morning, we all woke up to the news that Simone Biles was dropping out of the competition. We have not seen all of that yet. That information will kind of play out through the evening tonight.
Yeah, Biles, who said after the competition she was struggling with some mental issues, dropped out midway through the team competition. The U.S. women would eventually win the silver medal. NBC's Liz McLaughlin now joins us live from Tokyo. Liz, without question, this is the biggest story at the game so far.
Absolutely, Jay. And you know, many of the athletes I've spoken with say that the spotlight of the Olympics can be overwhelming at times, and that it's just been magnified this year with the setbacks and the uncertainty from the pandemic and that year delay. But of course, the world's most decorated gymnast, Simone Biles, faced her own struggles on the vault and in her head.
After a shaky start at qualifying, gymnastics star Simone Biles says she let the pressure get to her, shocking her team and the world when she withdrew from team finals Tuesday after a wince-worthy vault, citing mental health struggles, but still encouraging her team to take home a silver.
I took a step back because I didn't want to do something silly out there and get injured, so I thought it was best if these girls took over and did the rest of the job, which they absolutely did.
It's unclear if Biles will compete in Thursday's all-around event, where she's the defending champ.
It's been really stressful, this Olympic Games. I think just as a whole, not having an audience, there are a lot of different variables going into it.
The response has been an outpouring of support from the U.S. Olympic Committee, saying in a statement, "We applaud your decision to prioritize your mental wellness over all else." Fellow gymnast Sam McCulloch offering words of understanding.
Everyone has these high expectations of her. She has the weight of the world on her shoulders. How could that not mentally affect you?
Meanwhile, the U.S. softball team earned silver after falling to Japan in the final.
And Japan beats the United States.
The U.S. women's soccer team advances to the knockout rounds.
United States with a 12-point advantage.
A strong start for women's basketball with a comfortable win against Nigeria.
Jacoby!
And a gold-winning stunner by 17-year-old Lydia Jacoby in the 100-meter breaststroke.
I was just fighting to get on the podium at all.
American surfer Carissa Moore also fought to the top, winning the first Olympic gold ever in the sport.
And check this out, Carissa Moore actually let us borrow one of her surfboards. You can see her signature there on the bottom. This is a performance board, so it's a short board and actually pretty hard to get up on. A novice surfer like myself would not have much luck. These fins back here, you can do different fin setups to get different
edges and cuts. You know, the length of the board, actually just a few inches can make a huge difference in the ride. So I guess maybe I'll start learning on this short board and see where it takes me. Live in Tokyo, I'm Liz McLaughlin. Betsy and Jay, back to you guys.
All right, Liz, good luck. Be safe, for sure. All right, that's going to wrap it up for another Tuesday of What's New. We're back tomorrow at 5, and we hope you join us then.
What matters most with Russ and Laura starts right now.
Now at 6, reverse orders. The CDC backpedals on masking requirements for the fully vaccinated, while a new study reveals just how dangerous the COVID Delta variant is. Monica Robbins explains the impact on Northeast Ohio. Also, Simone surprised.
Like, you guys need to relax. You're going to be fine without me.
The world's top gymnast pulls out of Olympic competition to focus on her mental health. Jim Donovan explains what this means to Team USA. Trial testimony. Mark Namick isn't accurate as the corruption trial of Cleveland City Councilman Ken Johnson moves to the next phase. And Ohio proud. Will Ewick breaks down which local athletes are still in contention for a medal at the Summer Games.
From the WKYC studios, this is What Matters Most.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Mitchell.
And I'm Laura Queso. Tonight, new developments in the COVID-19 pandemic.
Just a few hours ago, the CDC came out with new guidance for mask wearing.
And new findings from a local study about just how dangerous the Delta variant can be to children. Senior health correspondent Monica Robbins joins us live now to explain. Hello to you, Monica.
Hi, Laura. Hi, Russ. Yeah, this should actually bring comfort to parents who are still on the fence about whether or not to get their kids vaccinated. The CDC and the FDA, of course, are investigating a small number of myocarditis cases in younger people who received the COVID vaccine. Well, there is an awareness warning now for people under 30. Now,